Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Mac Morey producing, Ken Weaver in the newsroom, you on the Super Text line. Got a lot of Super Texters for our last segment. Appreciate you guys. That was fun. I do want to switch gears, though. There's a story that I think you need to know about. And when I found out about it last night, I honestly was pissed. Not surprised. Not shocked. But pissed. And I started texting everybody that I could. I sent it to the Haggerty camp. I sent it to the Blackburn camp. I sent it to Andy Ogles. And I've heard back from all of them, to be honest with you. They're not happy about it either. WSMV has this headline: nearly 600 immigrants could travel to Middle Tennessee, Homeland Security says. And now when they say immigrants, let me decipher that for you. Illegal border crossers. The story reads like this: Nashville, Tennessee. In the fall of 2023, the city of Franklin received a notice from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security that nearly 600 non-citizens going through the immigration process could travel to Middle Tennessee. Did you catch that? Non-citizens. Non-citizens going through the immigration process could travel to Middle Tennessee. Now get this. In the notice, Homeland Security specifically named Nashville, Davidson, Murfreesboro, and Franklin. Illegal aliens coming to a city near you. The Department of Homeland Security, they didn't give any specifics on this. Not how many immigrants might be brought to Franklin versus other cities named. That's what the city of Franklin said. The notice sent by DHS was titled Intended Destination of Non-Citizens Process at the Southwest Border. Isn't that such nice legalese speak from our benevolent ruling class? Intended destination of non-citizens processed at the southern border. It detailed the department's processing of non-citizens at the border, what happens once they're released from custody after processing, and their travel to listed intended destinations following their release. Again, the story's right there on WSMV for you. Caleb Wethington wrote this. So they're coming. Could already be here. For the week ending in September 16th, 2023, 573 non-citizens provided an intended destination in your core-based statistical area, DHS said in its notice when mentioning Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, and Franklin. They're on their way. They're on their way. Let me read to you the DHS letter. It says, intended destination of non-citizens processed at the southwest border. DHS processing of non-citizens at the southwest border. Every non-citizen who arrives at the border and is processed by CBP is subject to security screening. The biographic and biometric information is vetted across a suite of law enforcement and intelligence databases. Any non-citizen who poses a risk to national security or public safety is referred to ICE or other government agencies for detention. It's really nice that they say that, and that's the disclaimer up top. But when you're coming across the southern border, one of the first things these people do is they ditch their identification. Or they never had it to begin with. How do you screen somebody with no paperwork? I've seen these people come through the Phoenix airport, illegal aliens, non-citizens, as the Department of Homeland Security calls them, and they have bags. They don't have IDs. The airport knows they have no IDs. The boarding passes say no name given. But we're supposed to judge based on this, disclaimer at the top of the Homeland Security letter that they're being vetted for security reasons. And not to worry. Don't worry. You're thinking too much. But they're coming. And as I said, they're already here. Consistent with, the letter goes on, consistent with long-standing practice under Republican and Democratic administrations, DHS may conditionally release from custody non-citizens who have been fully screened and vetted pending the outcome of their immigration processes. This could include non-citizens who have been processed for expedited removal, non-citizens who are determined to have a credible fear, or non-citizens who are otherwise placed in removal proceedings before an immigration judge. I want to know what you think about this. Are you excited? 615-737-9986. The letter goes on. This could also include non-citizens. I love that they use the word non-citizen. It's an illegal alien who presented at a port of entry via Schedule CBP-1 appointment. A non-citizen who is processed at a port of entry via a scheduled CBP-1 appointment and who is placed in removal proceedings before an immigration judge may, on a case-by-case basis for urgent humanitarian reasons or significant public benefit, be released on parole for 2 years to continue their removal proceedings. I'm curious what significant public benefit means. Is there a significant public benefit for illegal aliens to be released into our community? The letter continues. These non-citizens are eligible to apply for employment authorization once they're paroled and are not subject to statutory waiting period for parole-based employment authorization. Oh, so they're taking your jobs too. Non-citizens who presented at a port of entry without an appointment or after being granted travel authorization under an authorized parole process may be processed for removal proceedings on a case-by-case basis for urgent humanitarian reasons or a significant public benefit. They may be released on parole while awaiting removal proceedings. So they're doing that. Never mind. They're doing this for our good, it seems. Maybe I'm just not grasping it. Perhaps. The letter goes on. Non-citizen travel to intended destinations. Prior to their release from DHS custody, non-citizens provide their intended destination in the United States to CBP or ICE. This destination is then included on the paperwork they receive when they are released. The DHS Office of Immigration Statistics sorts that data to determine top intended destinations as reported by non-citizens. As noted above, non-citizens who are conditionally released are subject to reporting requirements, including keeping DHS apprised of their current residential address. Do you think they're going to follow that suggestion? I'm hard-pressed to believe that. Maybe some will. Maybe. It's important to note, the letter says, that these data reflect intended destination reported by non-citizens at the time of their initial encounters with CBP. DHS does not have a role in transporting released non-citizens to their intended destination and does not have a role in validating travel plans. So they could be coming. They're not sure. They may go somewhere else because DHS doesn't seem to keep track of them after they process them. As a result, this information may not accurately reflect who will travel to that destination, remain at that destination, or when they may arrive. Awesome. They say with these caveats, DHS is providing these data to potential receiving cities in response to requests for planning purposes only. Planning purposes. Get ready. They're coming. Heart DHS. Unbelievable. Were you asked about this? Did somebody check on how you feel about non-citizens coming into your community? I'd love to know how you feel. 615-737-9986. If you have a message for your elected representatives, let me know. The Marsha Blackburn camp said that they're going to blow this up on social media, and they're not happy about it. Andy Ogles sent me angry face emojis. I'm at a loss for words. And what kind of planning purposes are we going to see? You know, we see in places like New York City, they'll send the kids to remote learning and take a school. That's their planning. In Massachusetts, this was just announced. Massachusetts over the summer, they wanted families to take illegals into their homes. Nobody took them up on it. And now the Massachusetts Democrat governor is commandeering a rec center in a black community to house 125 illegal immigrant families. Governor Healy out of Massachusetts only gave them 48 hours notice before youth programs were left homeless. They're prioritizing non-citizens over you. We see it time and time again. And they tell us, oh, this letter's for planning purposes. Well, in Massachusetts, that planning gave a rec center 48 hours notice before the Massachusetts governor commandeered that rec center, took away the sports facilities from these kids. All to house illegal immigrants arriving in their sanctuary city. Well, are they gonna commandeer the YMCA in Murfreesboro? Are they gonna take a school in Franklin with less than 48 hours notice? I don't want to like alarm you, but I don't think that should be seen out of the realm of possibilities down the road. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but if nothing gets done about this, if people aren't going to push back and say enough is enough, we could be facing these same problems here. It is insane. It's insane. All the while, we have homeless veterans living in this country. We have families that are being destroyed by the fentanyl pouring over the southern border. And everybody's like, don't worry about it. We're going to send some more non-citizens to your community. I'm flabbergasted. I'm pissed. And I want to see some action. This cannot stand. Aren't we supposed to be a red state? Am I wrong? Feels more and more purple every day when you see stuff like this. 9:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Lots of traffic problems out there. Let you know that the pothole repair has resumed there in Montgomery County. That means 24 eastbound is going to be slow going for about the next 4 or 5 hours. We've got a crash, left lane block, 24 westbound right before Harding Place in Antioch, and an injury crash at Whitebridge Pike and at Charlotte Pike. We'll tell you about the executive order that President Biden plans to issue today. Coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We're talking about this letter that DHS sent saying nearly 600 illegal immigrants could be traveling to Middle Tennessee. It's probably more. But the Homeland Security, they specifically named Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, and Franklin. Isn't that awesome? Coming to a town near you. I know that we have a lot of people listening in Murfreesboro and Franklin. I got a great text here from a friend, 7434. Says, tell Marsha Blackburn and Andy Ogles to call our city mayors and tell them to stop taking them. Angry face emojis do nothing. And to that, I say, great call. And maybe it's not just Ogles and Blackburn and Haggerty that should be calling them. Maybe you should call them. Maybe you should let Mayor Shane McFarland in Murfreesboro know that you don't want illegal aliens in your town. That phone number is 615-849-2629. You want to call Shane McFarland in Murfreesboro and tell him you're upset about it? I think we could flood his office with phone calls and put up a stink about this. 615-849-2629. What about Franklin? You in Franklin? You want to call your mayor and let them know that you're upset about the Department of Homeland Security's identifying your town as a landing spot for illegal aliens? Well, Mayor Ken Moore, his phone number is 615-791-3217. 615-791-3217. I think that we could flood these people with phone calls and let them know we're done dealing with this. We're done. It's time to push back against this stuff. And I think the more people that call them, the more people are going to hear us. It's time to speak up about this. It honestly is. Call the county mayors. Call the city mayors. We'll help you find those phone numbers. Text us, and we'll do our best to find the phone numbers for you. 615-737-9986. Steve in Lafayette has a comment on immigration. Steve, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Well, I just wanted to say that these non-citizens and illegal aliens and everything that we refer to, they're actually criminals is what they are. We need to name them what they are.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Steve. Thanks for the call. Yeah, when you start off coming into the country by breaking the law to come into the country, you're a criminal. Simple as. 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
"9:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Breaking news. Reports say President Biden plans to issue an executive order targeting violent settlers in the West Bank. Something reports say he's already discussed with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden under growing pressure to be tough on Israel in the war in Gaza. Meanwhile, at the National Prayer Breakfast on Capitol Hill,
not only do we pray for peace, we are actively working for peace, security, dignity for the Israeli people and the Palestinian people.
And Biden said prayers continue to be with the families of the 3 American servicemen killed in the attack in Jordan. Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Brianna Moffitt, and Specialist Kennedy Sanders. A major expansion by Walmart, the world's biggest retailer, announcing it will open 150 locations in the U.S. in the next 5 years, the first time it will add new stores since 2021. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Have you heard this story? WSMV reporting. Unbelievable. Department of Homeland Security saying illegal immigrants could be traveling here, specifically naming Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, and Franklin. So I'm asking you guys to let them know how you feel about it. I think that, and you made the comment that what did you say to me off the air?
It's like, dang, I mean, a lot of guys are going to be catching strays today. We're going to be calling out a lot of people.
And I don't mean to be saying to these mayors, it's your fault. But I think that if we call these mayors and they call our reps, and I've made the reps aware, and now they're getting calls from mayors, let's light a fire under their ass, right?
Yep.
So if you're in Franklin, Mayor Ken Moore, I bet you he'd love to hear from you about the illegal aliens coming to your city. That phone number is 615-791-3217. 615-791-3217. If you're in Murfreesboro, Shane McFarland would probably love to hear from you. I got a text here, 8207 said, Chris, remember Shane McFarland is a property developer who might like a new influx of cheap labor with a thinking face. I don't know. I know people that know Shane. They say nice things about him, but I haven't met him personally. I did send him a lot of phone calls during COVID about reopening the playgrounds. So just so you guys know, when I'm asking you to call these people, I do the same thing, and I did the same thing before I had this gig. So I think it makes a difference, personally, letting people know how you feel about this stuff. And Shane McFarland didn't ask for these illegal aliens. But Shane McFarland can call the people above him and say, we don't want these illegal aliens. And that number is 615-849-2629. 615-849-2629. You want to just go to Rutherford County in general? Rutherford County has a mayor too. Joe Carr. You can call Rutherford County Mayor Joe Carr. 615-898-7745. If you need any of these numbers, you missed them, you want to call the people in charge of your city and say, we don't want these illegal aliens, call them. And send us a text. We'll get the number for you, 615-737-9986.
5602 says, what's Governor Lee doing? I promise you, Mayor Ken Moore will not do anything. He's part of the problem.
I don't know what Governor Lee's doing. I don't have an ear into his people. I sent a message to everyone that I have contacts with. Every single one. I don't know what Governor Lee's doing about it. Can Governor Lee do anything about this? 8210 says. I don't know. And I don't know if these local mayors can do anything either. But something needs to be done, and I think it starts with people saying, I'm pissed, I'm mad as hell, and we're not going to take it. I think that's where this starts. Because if we don't say anything now, we're going to end up like New York City, where they're taking over your kid's school for illegal aliens to be housed there. If we don't see anything now, we're going to be like Massachusetts, where the Democrat governor there is taking over rec centers where kids play to house illegal alien families. Is that what you want? Because if we go down this road, we all know it is not sustainable. It's not. And we already have problems in these cities. These are not like, we don't live in a utopia. Do you want to influx more people that are going to cause more problems on our cities like Franklin and Murfreesboro and Davidson County? That we don't live in crime-free utopias. The police have enough to deal with. What, like the illegal alien soccer coach in Franklin was raping kids and filming it. Is that who you want in your community? I think it's time to say something about this, and I think that collectively we need to be loud. Loud. Steve in Wilson County, you're next on Super Talk. What's up?
Well, I live in Wilson County, and house in my neighborhood sold, and the people were flipping it. Well, it looked like a swarm. I'm only assuming they were illegal. But I came home one day, and our Wilson County Sheriff's Department was over there with 5 cars checking them all out. And when they left, all the migrants left.
Interesting.
So, I mean, at least in Wilson County, I know they're watching out for it.
Well, that's good to know, and I appreciate the call, Steve. But I think collectively,
All right, thank you,
we need to be loud about this.
Oh, yeah, no, don't worry, I will.
Hey, man, I appreciate you being on our team. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
You know, but we need as many people as we can get. We need to flood these offices with calls today. And these non-citizens, as DHS says, after processing, they'll be able to work. Immediately eligible to apply for employment authorization once they're paroled. So they're going to come to this community. They're going to take jobs, too. Unbelievable. It honestly infuriates me. Where are they going to put these people? I mean, we see in many cities, like Boston, they're housing them at the airport. There's new video out showing that illegal aliens are tucked away in a hidden room under military guard in Atlanta. At the Atlanta airport, a video obtained by Daily Caller News shows a U.S. service member guarding a room full of illegal aliens at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. And that was filmed by Republican State Senator Colton Moore, who is the vice chairman of the Georgia Freedom Caucus. He took the video Tuesday night and said that he learned of the hidden room of migrants through a whistleblower at the airport. Could there already be a hidden room of migrants at Nashville International Airport? There could be. There could be there at BNA. How would we know? The state senator, Colton Moore in Georgia, he didn't find out until a whistleblower told him. And in the video, there's a uniformed soldier guarding this room full of illegal aliens and volunteers with a group called Team Libertad, which boasts of helping migrants travel on its social media accounts. Unbelievable. It honestly, it infuriates me. It should infuriate you too. You pay taxes in these counties, you work in these towns. You should call these representatives and say, you don't want this. And tell them to call the governor. Tell them to call their state senators and congressmen and representatives and make some noise. You know, what else? What are we going to see? I read a story the other day where an ICE detainee, a former ICE detainee, entered a Minnesota home dressed up as a UPS worker and shot the family. Convicted felon who had been previously detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement was arrested in connection with the killing of 3 people in a small town in Minnesota, 15 miles north of Minneapolis. Do you want this in your small town next? Honestly. We saw the video of illegal aliens beating up New York City police officers. We saw that over the weekend. They let them go without bail. They let them go without bail. You know, to her credit, the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul, is now saying that deporting those illegals should be on the table. But I would say to Kathy Hochul and the leadership in charge there, do you feel the same about your citizens that have been assaulted by illegals? It's nice that they're sticking up for cops, but you can do a quick Google search and find out that illegal aliens are assaulting citizens, and you never hear words like deportation on the table. There was an illegal alien arrested 6 times for 14 crimes in New York City in their first 2 months there. Randomly attacking strangers, wreaking havoc. These are not isolated incidents. These are part and parcel of the problem. Dave, you're next on immigration. You're on Super Talk. What's up, Dave?
Well, I was just going to make a comment. I don't think Governor Lee is opposed to it because he played his hand when a while back with some Catholic charities above people in Tennessee, illegals, and he was good with that. So I don't think he's opposed. I think he has a distorted view that we somehow have an obligation to take care of these people. But what I always like to suggest is, if it doesn't work in a family, it doesn't work in government. So how long could I open my home up and just let people come into my home and eat and sleep and everything else before my home was destroyed?
Yeah. It's unsustainable.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. Same way with, economic policy. If in your home you can't spend more than you take in, doesn't work in government.
No, it doesn't work at all.
So thank you.
Hey, man, I appreciate your call. Thanks so much. 5922 texted in. The 5922 is a good example of how you can listen anywhere. He says, I live in Vermont, small town. When the evening comes, the illegal aliens start crawling the streets. Luckily, most of them can't handle the winter weather, so they end up leaving. These small towns are going to be ravaged by this. It's unbelievable. Got a text here from 5042. Chris, I work for the United States federal government. I do a job in the city, and I have to talk to individuals. I speak Spanish and do all the Spanish cases. When I started 10 years ago, they used to get 2 to 3 cases a month. Now my caseload of Spanish cases have increased 30%. Wake up, people. A lot of people saying we need to be calling the governor, too. We should be calling the governor. I'm going to get that number for you. What is the number for Governor Lee? Can you find that the number for Governor Lee? Here it is. The governor's office, 615-741-2001. 615-741-2001. You want to contact the governor's office and let them know you're pissed about this notice from DHS that says nearly 600 illegals could be traveling to Middle Tennessee? Homeland Security said that. Nashville, Davidson, Murfreesboro, Franklin, specifically mentioned. I live in Murfreesboro. I have young kids. I saw what an illegal alien did in Franklin. People in Franklin know what happened with that illegal alien soccer coach. Is that what you want coming to your communities? Dan in Hendersonville, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Dan?
I'm glad I'm listening to you. I just got in my car. This is the first I've heard this, but thanks for taking my call. The other caller I just listened to, he's right, because Lee had a chance a few months back to remember they announced they were coming here, and then it died. You never heard anything more about it. I'm sure they came. It's back when they were flying them into Knoxville. Remember that?
Yep. Or I think it was Chattanooga.
Yeah, Chattanooga. The other thing is, I am an ex-New Yorker, but I've been here 45 years. Don't give Kathy Hochul credit for anything, man.
Fair enough.
Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, anytime, Dan. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in. All right, Dan made me a little bit happier when he said don't give Kathy Hochul credit for anything. Needed that.
Needed that reassurance.
Getting a little hot and bothered. I really am. Does this bother you? The Department of Homeland Security saying, hey, heads up, FYI, we're sending illegal aliens to your town. And by the way, they're going to be able to work right away as well. So they're going to take some jobs too.
0781 says, what was that governor's number again?
The governor's office number is 615-741-2001. Call Governor Lee. Tell him how you feel about this. 615-741-2001. Full disclosure, before I had my radio show, I spent a lot of time leaving voicemails for these people. It's effective. It's effective. You want to call the mayor of your town? Murfreesboro, you want to call Shane McFarland? You want to call Joe Carr, the Rutherford County mayor? You guys want to light a fire under Mayor Ken Moore out of Franklin? Text us. I got the numbers for you. 615-737-9986. It's Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
All right, that pothole repair going on in Montgomery County, Clarksville specifically. That is a 43-minute delay there, 24 eastbound. We've got 65 southbound at the Millersville-Springfield Highway 31 West exit 98. That just looks like some stop-and-go traffic there in Sumner County, about a 10-minute delay. Learning more about that drone attack that killed 3 U.S. service members. There's a Biden executive order coming, and the nation's largest retailer just announced it's getting bigger. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We've been talking about the DHS letter that was sent, saying that, hey, heads up, we're sending illegal aliens to your community, and they can work right away as well as soon as they've been paroled. But specifically mentioning Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, Franklin. Rick in Hartsville, what do you think about all this? You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Rick?
Hey, Chris, I appreciate your show, man. I don't understand why we don't eliminate the magnetism, if you will. If they find any company that hired an illegal alien and and not just find them, I mean, seriously find them for second offense, take their business license away, then if they couldn't work, I would think that would reduce the magnetism and they would probably go home on their own.
Listen, I'm a big fan of doing that. But I don't know how you get that through and how that gets authorized when a lot of big businesses, donate to these candidates. You know what I mean? Like, it gets so messy in that area. I don't know how we could talk people into doing that.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think lobbyists ought to be illegal, and they should only represent the people, what we think.
Amen, Rick. You, me, and to God's ears, brother.
Amen.
Hey, appreciate
Thank you,
it.
brother.
Yeah, of course. What was the text that you had, Mac? You just said you had a great text.
Yeah, Tommy texted in. He was asking for Joe Cars. He's the Rutherford County mayor, so I gave him that number. He said, I called the mayor's office. They directed me to call my state rep, as this is a federal manor.
Okay.
So we'll start giving those out.
All right, we'll give out everybody's phone number. Do you need your state rep's phone number? Text us, 615-737-9986. I still think that if you annoy them enough, they're going to call the state rep and be like, you know what? You need to do something about this. So call them anyway. Call them again. Give them a different name. Call them like 4 more times. See if anything changes. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories on this first day of February. Got the full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. And some breaking news here. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin just made some remarks regarding his disappearance, if you will, his secret hospitalization. Says he takes full responsibility and made a mistake in keeping his hospital stay secret, not just from America, but the president. Meanwhile, ABC News has learned the drone that killed 3 American service members in Jordan was Iranian-made. Still no response from the U.S., which the Pentagon says will come at a time and place of its choosing. ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy says he's concerned the delay is allowing Iranian assets to flee the region.
I am, quite frankly, a little confused because I think the Pentagon, and certainly when I was there, and I don't think it's changed much, always has targets ready to go for the president of the United States to retaliate, especially when it's a near constant attack on U.S. forces.
Meanwhile, reports say President Biden plans to issue an executive order targeting violent settlers in the West Bank, something he apparently has discussed with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden under growing pressure to be tough on Israel in the war in Gaza. Here in America, a major expansion by Walmart, the world's biggest retailer, announcing it will open 150 stores in the U.S. in the next 5 years. The world's largest retailer investing big in artificial intelligence. CEO John Verner telling Elizabeth Schulze AI is already shaping day-to-day operations.
Is there a risk that AI might replace some of those jobs altogether?
Over time, we believe that we'll have more jobs than we do today as we continue to grow. Now, the jobs will change.
A new study finding that American students made historic gains in math and reading last year, but still have a long way to go to make up for what was lost during the pandemic. The study finding that so far only one state has returned students to pre-pandemic levels of math achievement. That is Alabama. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, joined in studio by Chris Spencer, who's running for state senate in Sumner, Trousdale counties. You picked a spicy day to come in, Chris.
I enjoyed it on the way in.
I'm fired up. I don't often get it as fired up as this. I like to have more fun.
I know you are a funny dude, and yes, yeah, but it was good to see that you're fired up because it matters.
I'm pissed. So if you've just joining the show, hey Todd, if you're just joining the show, Todd's a mailman. He never shows up on time, so that's an inside joke.
Show starts at 9.
Yeah, show starts at 9. Todd. Chris gave me a look like he looked over at you. He's like, "Are you talking to Mac? Is Mac Todd?" No. So if you're just joining us, Department of Homeland Security sent a letter saying nearly 600 illegal immigrants could be traveling to Middle Tennessee. And in this notice, they specifically name Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, and Franklin. So I sent it to everybody I know. And Marsha Blackburn's team and Marsha has just tweeted out the article as well. So we're getting the word out. Who do we call, Chris Spencer, to let them know that we're irate about this?
Well, actually, I think you should call all of your state senators and state representatives because right now, because Joe Biden has refused to do anything, this really is going to be a state fight. This is a state's, right issue. Janice Bowling had a great bill, Senate Bill 1092, that she filed last year. It's called the Nullification State Sovereignty Rights Bill. and it didn't even get out of committee. Did not get out of committee. And I'm not going to read the whole bill. It's actually a lengthy bill, but I'll do a summary of the bill. It says it gives the state the processes by which the General Assembly may nullify an unconstitutional federal statute, regulation, agency order, or executive order. And so what we have that's going on with this letter, that Homeland Security says they're going to drop off 600 people here in our city here. Well, I can't find the word Homeland Security in the United States Constitution anywhere. No. But I do find a 10th Amendment in there that talks about the states have certain rights and powers. And I think it's about time that our assembly starts taking up this bill. This would be a good start. This would be an excellent start. And then if Governor Lee doesn't want to do anything, guess what? Article 3, Section 5 of the Tennessee Constitution allows the General Assembly to take that reign over, and they can do something. They don't have to pass a bill. It talks about an invasion. I'm paraphrasing, that when an invasion happens, that the General Assembly can do some things. So they don't have to pass a bill. They just have to enforce Article 3, Section 5. So do they have the will to do it? Let me tell you one thing that won't help this issue. Passing bills that gives illegals commercial license and in-state tuition to go to our colleges, that does not help us. And that's what's been going on for a long time.
And that's the opposite of demagnetizing the state.
100%. So if you really want action, I don't think it's a federal issue right now. I know they're always the reps are going to, state reps are going to say, well, there's nothing we can do. Well, I just told you several things that you can do. And not only that, just Frank Nicely, by the way, do you follow him on Twitter?
I don't.
He's funny.
Okay,
now, he's funny like you. I mean, he's a hoot.
I'll check out Frank Nicely.
You should follow him on X. I'm sorry, I keep calling it Twitter.
I refuse. I'm like the old guy yelling, "Get off my grass!" when it comes to that. I'll still call it to Twitter till the day I die.
Yeah, he's fought a bit. He has a bill. He sponsored a bill that prohibits the housing of illegals on state property. Now he filed this last year, and it didn't get out of committee, but it's back up. It's Senate Bill 1151, sponsored by Frank Nicely, funny on Twitter, and it prohibits the housing of illegals on state property. And you were talking about, of course, we talked about this last week, about all these state properties that they're housing illegals.
Yep.
This is a Band-Aid, but it's a Band-Aid that would maybe stop one of our schools from closing down, or our state community centers to close down to house illegals. So at the very minimum, we should definitely pass Janice Bowling's nullification, SB 1092, but at the very minimum, we should pass Frank Nicely's bill 1151.
So that nullification bill from Janice Bowling, it basically says if something's passed at a federal level, or if the Department of Homeland Security issues or decrees something in Tennessee, we can say, yeah, hard pass.
Well, we would have to fight for that. But we should fight for that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but we already have the 10th Amendment. What this basically is informing our legislators that we already have the power in the U.S. Constitution. Now let's go do it. Kind of like what Greg Abbott's doing and the AG is doing in Texas. They're standing ground, right? They're standing ground against the federal government. This should have been done 20 years ago. But for heaven's sakes, it needs to be done now.
Amen. We're hanging out with Chris Spencer, who's running for state senate here in Trousdale and Sumner counties. And we got a bunch of calls on immigration, so let's hit the phones. Wayne in Nolensville, you're next on Super Talk. Hey, Wayne, what's going on, man?
I've got a question for Chris, but I see some benefits to immigration because I was an insurance agent. I insured construction companies, and the only people that they can get to work are the Latinos. That's one plus. The other plus is if you rank the quality of parenting by, say, nationality or ethnic, your number one is, of course, the people from Korea, Japan, that hold their children to high standards academically. The next is the Mexican-American community, which they believe in wailing on their children if they don't behave. And the way down the list is probably the traditional American family, because we've lost the high standards that we used to hold our children to. My question for Chris is why don't we do what Chicago did? If they can make it illegal and impound a bus and arrest the driver, why can't we do that in Tennessee? Just use their own medicine, except the bus is being hired by these quasi-governmental people that the Bidens are giving millions of dollars to haul people to our state. Why can't we use that?
That's a solid take, Wayne. I appreciate the call, man. Why can't we do that, Chris?
Well, they're doing it in Texas.
Yeah.
They're doing it in Texas because they have the will to want to do that. So they have representatives and they have a governor that decided, you know what, we're not going to do this. Look, he did mention about some of the positive things that he talks about in illegal immigration. And I would say that, Wayne, I am pro-legal immigration. There's a legal process in order to get workers here, or at least there used to be. And we should go back to doing that, because right now what we're doing is these workers are double dipping. But other than that, how do you find jobs for 600 people that they just drop off? Unemployment in Tennessee is like at 3%. Where are these people going to work?
Yeah.
I mean, do they speak English?
What are their qualifications? Are we sure that these are real qualifications?
Yeah.
Are we sure that this is even their real name? You know, they drop their ID off at the border and they leave it behind, and then they tell a different name to, the processing people. We don't know who these people are.
But how does that help our infrastructure here? So now our infrastructure costs billions of dollars more. We have to build more schools. There is so much more to this topic than just helping a few of the business owners. That is the wrong way of looking at this issue anymore.
Yeah, and to his point, there are NGOs that are helping facilitate this. There are 4 resettlement agencies in Tennessee that I've seen. It's Catholic Charities in Nashville, International Center for Empowerment in Nashville, World Relief in Memphis, Bridge Refugee Services with offices in Knoxville and Chattanooga. Like they're out here doing this and facilitating this.
Yes.
What action could we take against these NGOs?
Oh, well, we would have to start making some laws here in the General Assembly to the transport this. I mean, first of all, how are these 600 supposedly getting here? Who's transporting them?
Yeah.
Are they notifying us? Or are they just like going to the corner over in Franklin with a bus, said, here's $100 for today, go?
In the Homeland Security letter, it literally says they may or may not be in your area. We can't confirm, but we just know that that's where they said they're going to be heading to.
Where are they going to stay?
Exactly.
It's cold. It's cold at night. Is this a humane process that we're doing for these folks?
It doesn't sound humane to me.
Obviously, the best solution is to build a wall and not let them in, except for a legal way. That's the solution. But we're past that now.
And it blows my mind that we still have to do this song and dance where it's like every conservative, whenever we talk about the issue, we have to say, "Oh, I'm for legal immigration." It's like, but that's great. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the problem of illegal immigration. And I hate that we have to preface it in the conversation.
Right. I agree with you, because if, when you make a stance like I have on illegal immigration, and I have for years on illegal, then I'm a target now. I'm a target for criticism from the Chamber of Commerce and from all of these special interests that now are involved with trying to make sure I'm not going to be elected. For what? For trying to make sure that that we follow our laws here in the United States and make sure that somebody like you or I or Mac's family doesn't have a crime done against us. I mean, you mentioned those are just a small list that are going on, and so it's a very touchy subject that needed to be addressed years ago.
Amen. Let's go to Kevin in the borough, who has a comment on this immigration crisis. What's up, Kevin? You're on Super Talk.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, and I'm going to tell you my background. I'm actually a former Missouri resident, and I have recently moved to Murfreesboro. My ancestors are Western Tennessee people, so I've got roots from Tennessee. But I got remarried and moved to Tennessee. But anyway, I have noticed what's going on, and I've already called Governor Lee, by the way. When I was in Missouri, I called Josh Hawley. I called all my public servants. And if you don't call your representatives, your senators, your governors, your mayors, if you don't do that and tell them if they want your vote, you suggest that they do something about this. I came from a very rural county, which was just south of St. Louis in Missouri, and 90% of the citizens of Jefferson County, Missouri, had never heard the word fentanyl. Now everybody in Jefferson County, Missouri knows what fentanyl is. You've got various heroin addicts and fentanyl users with this influx of illegals that had hit the area. That's all you see. And I've already seen in Madison alone, you can count the number of people on two hands, people that are homeless without jobs because of the influx of illegals already in this area. And if something, I'm very much pro immigration if they do it legal. They got their green card. They got their permission to work here.
And you know, we know who they are. Let's preface it with, let's start there. Let's know who you are.
Out of the United States.
Yeah.
That's what we were designed for. We're all immigrants, but do it legal.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Mayflower Act. I mean, they came over the Mayflower. They were already writing documents to make everything legal, everything governed properly. Now, I'm against big government too, but let's put an end to this. Let's put a kibosh on this. This is enough of shenanigans.
I'm with you, Kevin. Thanks for the call, man. Appreciate you. The phone lines are lighting up. Let's go to Bobby in Nashville. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, man, I deliver building materials all day long. You're talking about the Rutherford County, Davidson County, all that area. Man, there's nothing on these sites but immigrants, illegal immigrants, however you wish to phrase them, whether some be legal or not. And these contractors, man, that's all they hire. I mean, it's just booming. I've been doing this for 20 years. I listen to you guys all day long from 5 in the morning till probably 6 at night. And, how do we stop it?
I think that's the question everybody's asking, Bobby, and I appreciate your call. I appreciate you listening, man. How do we stop it, Chris?
Well, you got to, one thing you can call, but, they're not listening, obviously. So it's time to start getting those butts out of those seats and putting some new people that are in there that share, that are brave enough to come out, to run, but to tell them what you want to do. And that's how we do it. We put new people in these seats that will do the will of the people.
Yeah, and I think that last caller had it down pretty good. If your state rep, you call your state rep, you call your local officials, your congressman, your mayor, say, if you're not going to do anything about it, I'm not going to vote for you. And I'm going to tell my friends that you're not doing anything about it, and I'm not going to vote for you. I think that's a good start.
Yep.
I mean, a good start is seeing these phone lines full of good, hardworking Tennesseans that are just as pissed as we are. It's Chris Hand hanging out with Chris Spencer, who's running for state senate in Sumner County and Trousdale County. This is a good guy. He's going to be hanging out with us for a little bit. Hang out. It's 1021 on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at Paul Winkler, Inc. I have 4 kids, a wonderful wife, but one thing we didn't have was a plan for our financial future. That all changed when we linked up with Paul and his team. Full disclosure, we didn't even know where to start until we knew the starting point was with Paul Winkler, Inc. Now, Paul and his team hold themselves to a higher level of fiduciary standard than is required. Because of that, I got to tell you, I'm paid every time this commercial airs. Full disclosure, I am. That's just the truth. But that's not why I decided to become a client. I decided to become a client because I wanted to take my financial future into my own hands, and I didn't know where to start. But when I got to sit down with Paul, break bread, have my questions answered, honestly, I knew that I was in the right place, and I decided to become a client myself. Me and my wife are impressed with Paul. He's a smart guy. He knows the financial world better than I do. And with Paul and his team, nothing is done on commission, which is massive for me because I know when they're helping me make decisions for my financial future, it is for my financial future, not theirs, because nothing is done on commission. He can do the exact same thing he did for me, for you. Make your financial goals more realistic by explaining what to do and why. The investment education they provide is evidence-based and backed by Nobel Prize-winning research, so you should check these guys out. Every single office is run by a degreed planner with over 20 years of experience, and that experience is the difference between Paul's team and the rest. Do what I did. Talk to one of his team members today. Set up a complimentary 15-minute phone call right now on his website, paulwinkler.com. That's paulwinkler.com, or call 615-851-1950.
All right, the big stories right now. Pothole patching got a 53-minute delay eastbound 24 through Clarksville, then south of Nashville. Traffic backing up westbound 24 right there at New Salem Highway. That's for the right two lanes that are blocked for some pothole patching there in Rutherford County. A big public apology by the U.S. Defense Secretary. We'll tell you about that. Let you hear it at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you, Ken Weaver. Mac Morey producing. We got a full squad in here today. Chris Spencer's in here. He's running for state senate in Trousdale, Sumner counties. What's up, Chris?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, I
love being on your show. I love listening to you.
Thank you. That's nice. So there's
very nice.
We got
and
one.
Mac is great too, man.
We got one. Everybody's calling about this letter from the Department of Homeland Security saying illegal aliens are on the way to your community, specifically identifying Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, Franklin. Phone lines are slammed. Let's go to the calls. Bill in Hendersonville, you're next on Super Talk. You're with Chris and Chris Spencer. What's up, Bill?
Yeah, Chris, I want to tell you, I had to come out of retirement because this inflation by old Sloppy Joe has just caused us to have to work again. And whenever we go to work, we use these gigs, grab-a-gig apps on our phones. But these gigs are drying up because I found out that now the Hispanics have gotten into supervisory positions. They're only hiring their family members and their friends that are coming in there because they speak fluent Spanish and they don't have to worry about learning our language. And I want to know how they are getting employed if they're illegals, because these employers can't be hiring illegals, can they?
Well, that's a great question, Bill. Thanks for the call. I'll give it to you, Chris. How are these illegals getting hired?
I think they're probably being hired, right? I mean, we you can go to a job site and you can see that they're working. Now there are amazing skills with these bricklayers and so forth. They have amazing skills. We just want to make sure they're doing it legally, right? And that's, but obviously something's going on. We have a lot of illegal immigrants here in Tennessee. So they're working somewhere. Either if they're not working, they're getting subsidies somewhere.
Well, but where did the problem really begin?
Well, I think, honestly, I think special interest has a lot to do with this in campaigns and elections. I mean, I can tell you I'm not going to be receiving any special interest money because of what I'm fighting for. I'm fighting for the people of Sumner County and Trousdale County. So I'm sure that the chambers of commerce and a lot of people are going to be sending, well, I know they are. They're sending a lot of money to my opponent to make sure I'm defeated. But, I'm just going to represent it's common sense. At the end of the day, it's not how brilliant you are. It's common sense and following our Constitution and our state Constitution. It's really simple. It's that easy.
So what can we do to limit the amount of illegals on these job sites?
Well, it's going to take the fortitude of the General Assembly. If the governor won't do it, then the General Assembly has to come in and take the reins on this. They need to, like I said, Article 3, Section 5 gives them already the authority to do something when it comes to an invasion. So I say do something. And then obviously passing good bills like Janice Bowling's bill, Senate Bill 1092, nullification and state sovereignty, and get that. I mean, these are just common sense. I don't know why we wouldn't want to pass these bills.
And just to rehash, that bill basically gives the state the authority to nullify federal and executive orders.
Well, basically, they have the right to, under the Constitution, that they can do that. So it's more of like reminding them that, look, we have a 10th Amendment. And like Homeland Security, it's not in the U.S. Constitution. Homeland Security warned us that, hey, we're going to drop off 600 at the corner of Fifth and Elm, and that's, there's nothing you can do about it. No, the governor can send that letter back saying, no, you're not. And if we see them, we're going to pick them up and we're going to send them back, or and so forth. So it's going to take a government here in the state of Tennessee that is going to be aggressive on this issue and take back territory that the federal government has creeped in here over the last 20 years. It's time to take territory back for our constitutional rights.
This is Chris Spencer hanging out with us. He's running for state senate in Sumner and Trousdale counties. Phone lines are slammed. Let's go to Dean in Nashville next. Oh, we got a break. It's 10:30. All right, Dean, we'll come to you right next. Hang on the line. We got to do news. This is what we got to do. All right, let's go to Ken Weaver in the news on Super Talk. Don't you ever do that to me again.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin apologizing for keeping his medical issue a secret.
I should have told the president about my cancer diagnosis. I should have also told my team and the American public. And I take full responsibility. I apologize to my teammates and to the American people.
Austin spent several days in intensive care at Walter Reed Medical Center. During that time, the White House and the public were not notified. President Biden, by the way, going to sign an executive order imposing sanctions on Jewish settlers in the West Bank for violence against Palestinians, according to reports today. And right now in Nashville, Metro Police investigating after a fight led to a shooting in traffic this morning. Channel 4 says a suspect driving a Volkswagen Jetta tried to get into a box truck next to them at the intersection of Harding Place and Lindbar Drive. There was a fight, then it ended. Everyone went back to the vehicles, but the suspect pulled out a gun and shot a bullet into the box truck, striking the passenger in the leg. The passenger went to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand, joined in studio by Chris Spencer, who's running for state senate in Trousdale, Sumner counties. We've been talking about the illegal immigration issue, which is a big issue. Department of Homeland Security apparently sending a letter saying, hey, Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, Franklin, we're sending illegal aliens your way. It's frustrating.
Yep, and it doesn't help to give them business license, commercial license, and in-state tuition. And by the way, your current senator in Sumner and Trousdale County did all those things. And the amazing thing is we have him on video blaming President Trump for his vote on giving in-state tuition to illegal aliens. That doesn't help, Chris. That doesn't help.
That doesn't exactly demagnetize the state.
And what's even worse is when you have the special interest that get so involved with these campaigns. Last quarter, the fourth quarter, my opponent had 57 PACs and special interests for a total of $108,000 to spend against me, spent $170,000 in the fourth quarter against me. And guess what? I'm not even allowed to talk to PACs. It's against the law for me to coordinate with the PAC. And yet this is what I'm up against. But this is why it's so important for individuals to reach out to me and help me to just basically get the record out there of what he's voted for the last 12 years. And if we can do that, we're going to have success.
We need more fighters in there. And I think one of the things you see with Sumner and Trousdale is there's going to be a lot of rebuilding going on. And you see a lot of illegal aliens on the job site. And like you said, it was your opponent that gave illegal aliens the business licenses.
He voted for that, thought that was a good idea to do that. He'll have to answer on that vote, but I sure wouldn't do that.
No. We've had a bunch of people waiting on the line to talk about the illegal immigration. Dean in Nashville has been holding for a minute. Dean, you're next with Chris Spencer and myself. Thanks for holding, man. What's up?
Oh, thank you. Hey, listen, I'm livid right now. Dude, there's so many homeless people in Nashville, more than California, and they're bringing more here. Let me explain something to you, what happened to me. I had an accident, slipped my arm, 7-inch laceration on my arm. I needed surgery, and because I didn't have insurance, let's get him stable, stitch him up and on his way because I didn't have insurance. I said, I'm sorry, I'm an illegal alien. Excuse me? Well, you guys are giving free health care, free this and free that. I said, but I'm an American. I pay taxes, and you guys can't help me? Are you guys freaking kidding me right now? On the job sites out here, the gentleman was talking about the job sites out here in Nashville. They're paying them cash money, and all you business owners, you guys know who yous are. They're hiring them, giving them cash where people like you and I cannot find a job or get a job that pays right. This is what's happening. The same thing that's happening in Chicago, it's happening out here. People need to wake up and get these freaking whack jobs out of office.
Hey,
I'm livid.
I hear you, Dean, and I appreciate the call, man. I totally get where you're at. I'm livid as well. And we were just talking off air. It's like there are people that are pissed. And I think that Chris is a good example of like a guy that's on the ground and is feeling that vibe and also just as pissed.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about that the people, the ordinary folks of Sumner County and Trousdale County, if I talk to them and I explain to them what I'm going to do and his voting record, they're shocked. And they're going to vote for me. And that message is resonating. And trust me, they know this. That's why they're spending so much money against me right now. And we're 7 months out.
Well, and I think that one of the things that we've seen a lot, especially in the national landscape, is the money doesn't really mean anything right now. You can get a lot out on social media. I know you're on social media. What's your handle again?
Well, we've got my website is chrisspencerforsenate.com. Twitter is SpencerTN18. Facebook is Chris Spencer for TN, State Senate 18, and Instagram, Chris Spencer TN 18.
So you can get a lot of your messages out there without a lot of money. And you see Trump spending a lot less than Nikki Haley.
Yep.
But it's like it seems like a lot of these establishment people are relying on spending money to get their message out, but they're not relying on actually helping people.
That's how they stay in office. They stay in office by having these big funds to send mailers. I mean, my opponent has already sent 12 mailers. We're 7 months out from this election, and he's already sent 12 mailers. And by the way, I didn't even bring this up. Talk about corruption. One of those mailers, at least one, I think maybe two of them, you have to state who it's paid for by, right? When you send these, you have to put a disclaimer on there. And on the disclaimer said that this was provided and paid for by the state of Tennessee taxpayers. Oh. I kid you not. It said the state of Tennessee taxpayers paid for a mailer to send out for Senator Hale. That's what's going on.
Feels like a red flag.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It appears illegal, maybe not. I bet, but it definitely is wrong, especially when he has all this money already.
Yeah. Richard in Clarksville wants to talk about immigration with Chris Spencer, who's running for state senate in Trousdale and Sumner County. Richard, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
I'd like to ask you a question that was asked of me. I don't say I agree or disagree with it, and I don't say it'll ever happen. If we just stop giving these people anything, period, would they drift back where they came from? Because they came here looking for stuff anyway, and we're giving them pretty much everything they want. So just stop.
Yeah,
just period.
I think what you're speaking to, Richard, and I appreciate your call, man. You're speaking to the demagnetization of the state. How can we demagnetize the state?
Well, I think he's probably on to something, but the problem is how do you achieve that goal? I mean, especially when you have so many people that are willing to help, and we should want to help. And again, this was brought to us by Joe Biden. That's first and foremost. The blame goes to Joe Biden, but there are actions that we have dropped the ball on for several years now that we can start doing on the state level. And I'm going to use my voice to make sure that happens. And I think if we put enough pressure on it, I think that we can accomplish that goal.
Hopefully. It seems a lofty goal. You know what I mean? It gets bigger and bigger.
Well, it happened to me just Saturday night. My wife needed some medical attention, emergency medical attention, actually, and we couldn't go to Hendersonville because they didn't have an optometrist. So on call. So we went to Vanderbilt Hospital, and we got there. Oh my gosh, they wouldn't even let me in. It was so crowded. They wouldn't let me in, and it was going to be like an 8-hour wait for to be seen. And but this I don't know if that was solely because of illegal immigration. I'm assuming that played a part of it for sure.
Yeah, it's wild. Randy in Franklin, you're next on Super Talk. Randy, the Department of Homeland Security are sending illegals your way. They specifically mentioned Franklin. Are you excited about that?
No, not excited. We've got enough people panhandling now around Franklin and Brentwood area that it's just amazing that, we're going to have more on corners with their kids. And if we can't take care of them now, how are we going to handle more? I don't understand it. The other thing, Chris Spencer, good luck in your run because, I don't understand how a part-time Senate job is worth $108,000 in 1 quarter spend.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. I'm not running. I'm running to serve my constituents. I want to bring back common sense in our constitutional republic that we are supposed to be running by. But I appreciate you calling. It is definitely a sacrifice. But I agree with you. That's just 1 quarter. He'll spend over $1 million on this to defeat me, and he'll be able to get more money. He'll get more money just by me being on the radio today. I'm telling you, he will.
Hey, real quick, Chris, by the way, I enjoy your show so much. It's probably some of the most fun I've had since Phil Valentine listening to WTN.
Oh,
you
man.
guys are killing it.
That's the highest compliment I can receive. Phil is one of the greatest. I don't hold a candle to him, and he was my favorite as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man. Appreciate the call. Thanks, Randy. Let's go to Todd, who's a trucker. Did you know we're the #1 show for truckers?
Oh, they're my type of people.
It's anecdotal evidence, but it seems to hold true. Todd, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Yes, sir. I just want to know, everybody keeps saying that we don't have enough people to work. And what I wanted to say was that instead of building juvenile detention centers and prisons, why not build schools and put the trade school education back in force into regular schools, and the kids that get in trouble, instead of turning them into felons, turn them into a part of society. You know, I know there's the worst of the worst. I get it. You can't hardly do anything for or with them. But most of them can be rehabilitated. That's the whole thing of what prison's supposed to be, not as much punishment as it needs to be rehabilitation for people to be in society.
Yeah, I like it. Thanks for the call, Todd. Chris, what do you say?
All right, Todd, I think that's a great idea. Instead of spending $800 million on Ford and $10 million or $6 million on the Smile Club, maybe we should invest that money in our children on trade schools. I think that's a great idea. We definitely need to bring more people, not necessarily skip college, but a lot of college isn't for everybody. Make them go have another outlet that they can learn a trade that they can help this booming economy here.
Yeah, that Smile Club Direct story is wild. So the state gave Smile Club a bunch of money to invest basically jobs into Tennessee, and now it's never brought jobs. It's gone bankrupt, and we have nothing to show for it. We're going to have to claw that money back via lawsuits.
I think they're trying to get that money back through a lawsuit, but I say good luck with that. I would imagine they would not get that back. But again, I mean, I'm you know, I don't know if this was a special interest deal, but this has happened a few times on this committee that company given grants and so forth, and we don't have any accountability with it. We need more accountability, obviously.
Yeah. I think more accountability is a good thing. Dee Dee in Wartrace wants to talk immigration. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Dee Dee?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, how are you?
I just wanted to do good. I wanted to piggyback on a call from Dean about contractors paying their workers with cash. There was a lawsuit in Atlanta when I lived there, and the lawsuit had to do with major contractor, and he was winning all the bids in the city, and a professional contractor group filed a lawsuit against him. As it turned out, he was using nothing but illegals in his crews, and he himself was a Spanish man himself. But that he was winning all the bids in Atlanta, and how he was winning them was because he was using illegal labor.
Yeah, I think that illegal labor is a big deal. We appreciate the call, Dee Dee. You know, people winning bids because they can, underbid, and then they hire illegals. I think that something needs to be done to the businesses that are hiring illegals.
Yeah, a bigger penalty. We talked about that last week.
Yeah,
I liked where you were going with that.
I lean on the extreme side. I'm like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Jolita in Franklin wants to talk about the Homeland Security letter that was sent saying illegal immigrants are headed towards Franklin and Murfreesboro and Nashville and Davidson County. Jolita, are you excited about that?
Oh, yes, I am. That's why I called. Jumping up and down. But, supposedly, and I read this, I have not driven out there to see it for myself, that there are 2 Homeland Security buses at the Ag Center. Yes, the testing center for driving had moved out there temporarily, but the buses weren't there then. They're there now.
Homeland Security buses at the Ag Center in Franklin, you said?
That's correct.
Oh, doesn't that just fill you with butterflies and warm fuzzies?
Oh, yeah, plenty of room. At least there's room to house them there. Hey.
Yeah, I wish.
But our street's full.
Yeah, I hear you. I like to tell people Murfreesboro's full as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate the call, Jolita. Homeland Security, huh?
Wow, they gave you notice yesterday, and we don't know for sure, but it sure looks like the operation is happening.
Yeah.
Does the governor know about this?
I have people calling him. I've given out his number multiple times.
I mean, who are on these buses?
That's exactly. And they say that they've been vetted, but how do you vet somebody that doesn't have identification and paperwork?
Troubling.
Chris Spencer has been hanging out with us. I want to thank Chris. He's running for state senate in Sumner County, Trousdale County. He's a good guy. I wanted to read you this text from our friend John, 3989. He said, Chris Spencer has my vote after hearing him today. Common sense is uncommon.
Well, thank you. It is. I mean, common sense, I have said a few times, we don't necessarily need really smart people to run for office. We need leaders that follow direction. And the directions is the U.S. Constitution and a Tennessee Constitution. It's really that simple. I
love it. Where can they find you again, Chris?
ChrisSpencerForSenate.com or on Facebook at Chris Spencer for TN State Senate 18 and on Twitter, Spencer TN 18.
All right. Go find this guy. He's a good guy. I like him. I'm sure you will too. It's 10:51 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Pothole repair. That's a 45-minute delay eastbound 24 north of Nashville. If you're trying to get to Nashville through Clarksville, 24 eastbound through Clarksville. 45-minute delay for pothole patching. Got a rolling roadblock. Right 2 lanes blocked 24 westbound past New Salem Highway in Murfreesboro for the same thing. And a big apology from Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. These stories and more at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. Can't wait for that newscast. We've been talking about the illegal immigration. WSMV had the story from that they posted last night, Department of Homeland Security letter. I read it, and I was flabbergasted. Illegal aliens coming to Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, Franklin. Basically just like, get ready. Roll out the welcome map for them. It's blowing my mind. Now, I sent it to everybody I knew I could send it to. Haggerty's team, they responded. Andy Ogles, he responded. Sent it to Blackburn's team. Blackburn's team were like, we're getting on this. They started, posting about it, so they're going to blow it up as best they can. And your calls are the biggest part of it. You guys are what we do this for, and I appreciate you guys leaning in on this conversation. Dave in Hendersonville is on the line. Dave, hang on. We're gonna get to you next, right after the news. And I appreciate you holding, Dave. I know Dave's always working. Mac told me that there's beeps in the background already.
For sure.
So, Dave, we'll get to you next on illegal immigration. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. And Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin says he's sorry for keeping his cancer diagnosis and hospitalization a secret.
The American people have a right to know if their leaders are facing health challenges that might affect their ability to perform their duties, even temporarily. So a wider circle should have been notified, especially the president.
Now, this from a news conference at the Pentagon where Secretary Austin provided new details about that attack that killed 3 U.S. service members in Jordan.
Our teammates were killed when a one-way attack drone struck their living quarters.
And ABC News says they learned that attack drone was Iranian-made. Meanwhile, you've got ABC News National Security and Defense Analyst Mick Mulroy concerned the delay in response is allowing Iranian assets to get away.
I am, quite frankly, a little confused because I think the Pentagon, and certainly when I was there, and I don't think it's changed much, always has targets ready to go for the president of the United States to retaliate, especially when it's a near constant attack on U.S. forces.
And as for the war in Gaza, President Biden expected to sign an executive order sanctioning Jewish settlers in the West Bank for violence against Palestinians. Here in Nashville, Metro Police say the shooting in the Valley Plaza parking lot in Bellevue last night involved an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, and the investigation shows they went at each other over a drug deal. 18-year-old Gavin R. Desart died. The 17-year-old Raphael Jabadari is in critical condition at Vanderbilt. Police say Jabadari, bleeding from 2 gunshot wounds, went to the Kroger to try to hide a gun, but police were able to recover it. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
11:04 already on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How did 2 hours of the show evaporate already? It's wild. Thank you for your calls.
Time flies when you're conquering the world's problems.
Yeah, we're trying to. There's a lot of problems.
A lot.
Yeah.
A bunch.
Makes for easy show prep. Just full disclosure. So if you're just joining us, let me start by saying show starts at 9, and I will. I also want to bring you up to speed. WSMV Channel 4 in town had a story and a letter from the Department of Homeland Security saying nearly 600 immigrants could travel to Middle Tennessee. That's what Homeland Security says. And in this letter from Homeland Security, they specifically name as a landing spot for these illegal aliens Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, and Franklin. Exciting times. Dave in Hendersonville has been hanging on the line. Dave, you're next on Super Talk. What's up, Dave?
What's going on, man?
How are you doing?
Doing all right, I reckon. They need to use. They come out with E-Verify,
Yep.
and they don't. It's not being used. If it was being used, there wouldn't be so many of them hired. And they're not gonna. It's not just Murfreesboro, Franklin, and Nashville. All the surrounding areas, Hendersonville. They're going to end up there.
Yep.
They're going to end up in Springfield, Gallatin, White House. They're going to end up in all these places.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dave.
And the gentleman that's running, is he still with you guys?
Chris Spencer, he actually just stepped out, but Chris Spencer's running for state senate in Sumner and Trousdale County.
Well, Sumner, that'd be my county.
I suggest you look into him, Dave.
Well, I'm going to, because a lot of these people get in there and they run for office and they go say they're going to do this and that, and I'm here for the people, and when they get in there, they don't do nothing but take care of themselves and their friends.
Yep, 100%.
I'm sick of it, man. I'm absolutely sick of it.
Me and you both, Dave. Me and you both. I appreciate the call, and definitely look into Chris Spencer, Dave. He's a good guy. James in Nashville, you're next on Super Talk. You want to talk immigration? You're on with me. What's up?
Hey, buddy. I got a solution for the problem.
All right, talk to me.
Stop Americans from hiring illegals. 2, stop allowing all the financial institutions to send money back to foreign countries without proof that they paid taxes on it.
Yeah.
3, go after people like Marsha Blackburn and them, because it's all talk. The Chamber of Commerce is against the American people. We should know how much. The other day on your show, you had some guy on there saying it costs Tennesseans $1 billion in illegal immigration. Well, that affects the schools and everything. So why not stop these people from being on welfare? I'll give you an example. I worked with a guy. He was telling me that the Hispanic people and whatever race they were there, and they were laughing about how stupid America is, because they bring their wives and children here, get them into a house, and then they have them go down to the state and tell them that the husband left them, so they have no money. So they get the money from the state, they take the money, and then they send it back home to the foreign countries. Mexico a couple years ago got $24 billion in money sent from people living here. If we shut that down, I'll guarantee you Mexico will shut that border down, because that $24 billion is their economy.
100%. Yeah, the money that goes out, it's a huge part of their economy.
Yeah, and our government doesn't do anything. They want to tug at the heartstrings of you, saying you're being mean and hurting these people. Well, what about our people? Schools are failing because they have to expend all this money for people that are here illegally, and they got to hire teachers, language specialists. I got a cure for it. Anybody that came into this country, I don't care if you've been here 5 years or 40 years, if you came here illegally, you should be removed. If you came here on a green card, you knew when your time was up, you were supposed to leave. So my thing of it is, goodbye.
Yeah, no,
and if you came here, illegally and crossed the border and you were granted amnesty, you should never be allowed to vote in this country because you don't respect the laws because you broke them to get in.
Yeah, no, I hear where you're at, and to your point about being humane and the feelings and all that, it's like there's nothing humane about the human smuggling going on at the southern border via the cartels. There's nothing humane about the sex trafficking going on. There's nothing humane about a coyote drugging children with Benadryl to get them across the border. There's nothing humane about that.
You're right, and like I said, if American people, the people that are hiring them to clean their houses, cut their grass, and do all that, if they would stop it, a cure for that would be any company that is caught violating federal law, they should lose their business license. If you don't make them pay the pain, they're going to keep doing what they do.
I'm with you. I'm with you, James, 100%. I think stiffer penalties on businesses that hire illegal aliens is much needed and way overdue. I appreciate your call, my man. Dave in Rutherford County, you're next on Super Talk. Dave, this letter from the DHS saying illegal aliens are headed to Murfreesboro. You excited about it?
No, but I was going to tell you the history about what happened in the state.
Tell me.
The building trades in around 1988, we were working on commercial buildings. We've done catching wind in the residential building trades that the Americans and as of Tennesseans was getting pushed out. They ended up showing up on our jobs. Come on to work, which you make more money. Okay, by the time in 1994, when NAFTA was signed, in 1995, the Gaylord Entertainment out there at the Delta, they bought a rundown hotel and was flying them in. Before you know it, they were everywhere. And I done told them, before you know it, they'll have a trowel in their hand, a hammer, or whatever. Now, let me tell you this. Here's the sad thing. The Tennessee 3 talks about this and that. The African American in the state of Tennessee and everywhere was some of the best concrete workers and bricklayers and carpenters. They got completely pushed out.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing that the liberals don't understand. They talk about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, but it's like you're hurting the people that are under your umbrella by facilitating this illegal immigration first.
But may I say this? Now get ready for the big lie. Tennesseans won't work no more. Americans won't work no more. That's why we're working them. Somebody that's been in the trade for over 30 years just gets up out of bed and says, well, I'm lazy, I'm not going to work. But the sad thing, it's too late. It's too late because it's going to take 12 years to make a journeyman on the job site. That's how long it takes.
No, I hear you. I don't want to be black-pilled and go full. It's too late. You know, it's like, how do you eat an elephant, man? One bite at a time. I appreciate your call, though, David. Thank you so much. Let's go to Greg in the Borough. You're next on Super Talk. Greg, illegal aliens, according to DHS, they're headed to the borough where we live. You excited?
I know. I'm in hiding right now. I wanted to let me put a couple of things in your crock pot and let it marinate for a minute.
All right, bud.
I'm in the trades. And I'm an electrical supervisor for a building contractor that you've heard of.
Okay.
And I'll just tell you that we have meetings all the time, production and all that. The guys that do the framing, foundation work, mostly from Central America and all that, the guy that's a supervisor over that has told me time and time again, he has to go check everything these guys do. There's no building codes in Mexico. They just slap it up. So it creates a lot of difficulty in that. And the other thing I want to say.
And didn't we hear stories about that with the foundations being held down by duct tape during the last tornado?
Oh, absolutely. And that's just terrible work because, again, there aren't any codes in Mexico to stop that. But the other thing I wanted to say is probably more important is that these contractors hire these people for a lot less money to build these houses. Do you think they pass that savings on to you?
No, of course not.
Of course not. So that's just a couple of things I want to bring up. I love your show. Thank you.
Hey, man, thanks for calling. I appreciate you. We got another guy in the borough, Steve. You're next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What's up, Steve?
All right, I'm going to speak from the perspective of residential building construction. That's where I have all my experience. I'm in my mid-50s, been doing it since my early 20s. I've been a licensed GC in Tennessee since 2006. First of all, from a residential building construction perspective, all right, I can't speak at length about commercial. This concept, this idea, this lie that GCs hire illegal immigrants because they're cheap labor. I always tell people, if you find a cheap illegal Mexican, would you send me his number? Because everybody I hire charges out the wazoo, and I don't know if I hire anybody illegal or not because I don't ask for people's IDs. It's none of my business. All I care about is, do they work hard? Do they do quality work? Do they fix mistakes when they make mistakes? I don't care if you're white, brown, blue, whatever, male, female, trans. If you'll come do the work, I'm going to pay you, and we're all going to get along and make some money together. So that is it's just the biggest lie I always hear. I've never seen it. Maybe they exist. I've never seen anybody work on a job site cheap. The second thing I want to add is, and I'm glad your caller a couple of calls ago, so it sort of redeemed himself at the end, because when I was listening to him, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go again. But he said it right. Not only will Tennesseans not work, even if they did, I've got news for everybody. Residential construction in Tennessee is so backlogged, it's ridiculous. Even if every Tennessean woke up tomorrow and decided they didn't mind working for a living, you still couldn't keep up with the demand. And so this concept, if anybody out there thinks, oh, well, we'll just stop the flow of migrant workers in residential construction, and then this rosy world's going to pop up where all these Tennesseans go make all this money learning building trades. They're living in a dream world. They don't understand the level of demand that's out there for residential construction. You could literally have an open border, and you still wouldn't have enough workers to keep up with demand. And people need to understand that. And that's why I've said, in summary, it should be hard to become an American. It should be easy to come here and work. Now, I don't know how you do that, but that's the way it needs to be, and that'll solve a lot of our economic problems here in the United States. It'll solve economic problems in Mexico. It'll solve border crossing problems. It'll fix border security problems.
I think you bring up some interesting points, Steve, and I'm glad you called. Now, when you say that you don't ask for people's IDs when you hire them, expand on that a little bit for me. Are your employees not paying taxes?
So people need to understand this. Residential construction is sort of a unique industry in that very few licensed GCs have full-time employees that do things like framing, plumbing, electrical. They'll have full-time employees that do supervision.
So are you 1090? Yeah, I get that, but for the average guy coming in to frame, are you 1099ing them?
So what happens is you subcontract a framing crew, and the head of that framing crew, he has a business. He has a business name. He has a business bank account, and yes, he gets a 1099. So you 1099 the framing company, and then he has to do something else. So you're not sure what he's doing. Correct. That's exactly correct. And so, and then 1099, and again, this is sort of a loophole, and I know this exists, is that you can get a tax ID number and not have a Social Security number. So that's another way people that are here illegally, they'll go get what's called a TIN, taxpayer identification number, or at least I suspect. Like I said, I have no way of knowing this for sure, but I suspect what they do is they just apply for a TIN, and then when I 1099 them at the end of the year, they're giving me a TIN. But having said that, I have a TIN. I don't use my Social Security number if somebody subcontracts me. Even though I'm a GC, I sometimes do subcontracting work, and I have a separate EIN for my business. And so they're paying taxes. That's another thing. People talk about if they're getting TINs and they're doing subcontracting work, they're paying taxes. So I can only speak to that from a residential perspective, though.
Hey, no, and I don't do this kind of work. I sit here and talk behind a microphone, so I appreciate you putting that input in there and providing a counterpoint. Thanks for the call, Steve.
Sure.
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm fine with that kind of counterpoint. A lot of people will probably disagree with Steve. And I think that there's definitely some areas of his, he taxes the company that's framing. Then the framing company could theoretically be hiring illegals. But a lot of people say that, nobody wants to work. It's a fascinating conversation. All that aside, Homeland Security is sending illegal immigrants to your communities. And are they sending framers and electricians? We don't know. We don't know who they're sending. And that's my big problem right there. Just a letter in the mail saying, hey, Franklin, Murfreesboro, Davidson County, Nashville, get ready. DHS is dropping them off at your doorstep. That's according to the report from WSMV and the letter from DHS themselves. We got more of your calls next. Hang out with us. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. They are the experts in foundation repair. Now, whether you need foundation repair or maybe you got a sinkhole on your property you need fixed, USS can do that. They also can help with basement wall realignment, crawl space encapsulation, and basement and crawl space waterproofing. Do me a favor, walk around your house. Are you noticing cracks in your basement floors? Have you seen water in your crawl space? Maybe wet basement walls recently with the rain that we've had? Well, that's your house trying to tell you something, and I suggest that you give the guys at USS a call to check it out. They've been doing this work in Middle Tennessee since 1994, and they aren't going anywhere, and they have 25,000 satisfied customers to back them up. And their customers are so satisfied that I'm confident you could be customer number 25,001. So if you need crawl space encapsulation, waterproofing, foundation repair, call USS today, 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855 or online at USSTN.com.
92-minute delay eastbound 24 through Clarksville due to pothole patching. Pothole patching in Rutherford County. That is delaying 24 westbound right there in Murfreesboro. You got the right 2 lanes blocked. President Biden ordering more sanctions. We'll tell you for what coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I love you guys on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. You know, Steve in the borough called, and he said people don't want to work, and he pushed back on hiring illegals. But he also said it's none of my business. Now, I don't want to create an atmosphere here where we shout down counterpoints. I think it adds for a better conversation. And a lot of people on the Super Text line just don't agree with Steve in the borough. 8320 said Steve was seemingly trying to justify illegal workers by just saying, oh, I don't check that. He knows for sure. Just trying to justify his cheap labor, even though he said it isn't cheap. Still cheaper than market rate for what Americans need for the legal taxpayer. I like the conversation that we're having. And Josh in Mount Juliet is on the line. He has a response to Steve. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Josh?
Hey, Chris. Yeah, I agree with that super texter. You know, that guy is part of the problem. I mean, I realize he's obeying the law and the law is what it is, but that law needs to be changed. You know, to sit there and say that, you know, oh, I'm not the one that's hiring it, somebody else is, well, you're perpetuating the problem by doing that. You know, I realize that we all have to be in business and we all have to do what we need to do to survive, but at the same time, you got to do it the right way. You know, people come to this country, we have immigration laws and restrictions for a reason. You know, you can immigrate to this country, you just can't do it at the drop of a hat. You have to get in line and wait like everybody else. Folks like Steve, you know, if that's how they want to run their business, that's fine, but that's not how I run mine. I make sure all my subs are legitimate and the people working for them are all checked out through E-Verify. If they don't have that person verified, then they don't work on my jobs. It's that simple.
I think that's the route. And would you, as somebody that goes that extra mile, would you support fining these subcontractors, these businesses hiring illegals?
Completely. I'd fine them and put them in jail.
Really? You'd go even further?
You know, Uncle Phil said it best years ago. It needs to be demagnetized. If there wasn't a reason for them to come, they wouldn't come. Now, to be fair, I'm an immigrant just like everybody else was. My ancestors came from other countries here, but they did it the right way. They came here, they assimilated into our society. They didn't bring their society into the United States, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think Murphy said it best one day. We're supposed to be a melting pot, not chunky soup.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a great way to put it.
It is. It kind of hit me when I was driving down the road, and I was like, "That's a perfect analogy."
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those if you make it painful, if you make the pain bad enough, people won't do it. And to sit there and pay a few $1,000 fine for having an illegal worker on your job site, but it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
You're making money hand over
What's $1,000 fine if you're saving 10 to 15 grand?
Exactly.
Yeah. The
On
ends
top of that,
justify the means.
Multiply it across the number of people working on your job site and the amount of money and profit you're making. It's if I didn't care so much about it, I could make a whole lot more money doing it.
Hey, well,
But
you know what?
I got my standards.
I appreciate the fact that you have standards, Josh, and thanks for the call, man. And I appreciate the response. Let's go to John on line 4. What's up, John? You're next on Super Talk.
Yeah, I was listening this morning, and they were talking about the buses of illegals at the Ag Center in Franklin.
Yes, sir.
I drove over here, and it's a couple of buses that they moved the driver's license over to this spot because I guess they're doing work on Carruthers at the driver's license center. So
Yes.
that's what it is.
So
It's not illegal.
Yeah, we had a caller saying that there were Homeland Security buses a little while ago at the Ag Center dropping them off.
They are. Okay, I don't know whether they were dropping them off and if they've already left, but what's there now is for the driver's license.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thanks for the call, John. I appreciate it, man. I also got a text here from 9550, and this is all anecdotal, of course, because we're just reading the text from the people on the street. 9550 says these bus drop-offs have been going on in Middle Tennessee for quite some time. They're also now dropping off in remote areas. 4 busloads dropped off at the post office in Bon Aqua, Hickman County, Tennessee, practically in Franklin's backyard 2 to 3 days ago. And I'm told by those who live there that this is not the first time. Interesting to say the least. I think more investigation needs to be done, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Hey, where's Phil Williams? Do you think Phil Williams would do an investigation on this? Oh. You don't think Phil would take this one?
Makes sense.
Makes sense. 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories on this first day of February. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes, and President Biden is ordering sanctions on Jewish settlers in the West Bank. Accused of violent attacks on Palestinians there, Biden has been under pressure to get tough on Israel in the war in Gaza. Biden's defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, has made a public apology today.
I should have told the president about my cancer diagnosis. I should have also told my team and the American public. And I take full responsibility. I apologize to my teammates and to the American people.
But Austin never made clear why no one was told. UPS, Macy's, Levi's, the LA Times, eBay, and Alphabet, all of them recently announcing layoffs. That could have been a factor in the uptick in claims for jobless benefits last week. The unemployment rate, meanwhile, remaining under 4% in the U.S. for nearly 2 years, the longest such streak since the 1960s. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Ooh, 60s over the weekend? Are you kidding me? Hey, it's Chris Hand for Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Now, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But it's February 1st. Wishful thinking. It's going to be warmer before we know it. So it's the perfect time of year to start getting your HVAC system serviced the best way, the Busy Bee way, with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Or maybe you've been putting off that maintenance on your heater and you're worried it might go out. Well, don't wait for a problem to pop up with your heat this time of year. Be proactive and keep your unit in tip-top shape, tippy-toppy, as they say at Busy Bee. Whether you need that annual maintenance or repair or replacement, plumbing, heating, or air system, you got to call who I trust, Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And if you do need to replace your system, if you get to that point, it stinks, but you're not going to find a better value on replacement systems than Busy Bee. These guys offer up to 12 months, no payment, no interest with approved credit, and it'll pay in so many ways to sign up for that annual maintenance on your plumbing, heating, and air systems from Busy Bee. That way you get ahead of those problems. And you can get added rewards and savings by signing up to be a Beehive member. That'll get you front of the line service. Dan Mandis on Nashville's Morning News said it took them 90 minutes to show up when he had a plumbing issue because he's a Beehive member. You'll get that thorough annual maintenance when you're a Beehive member on your plumbing, heating, and air systems. No overtime charges, 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. That all comes with being a Beehive member. It'll pay for itself. Plus, they have convenient Saturday availability for those maintenance calls, so you'll never be left out in the cold. Busy Bee, they're your Rude Pro partner for satisfaction guaranteed. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833 or online at busybeehvac.com.
For years, they have refused to heed the president's request for action on much-needed funding for border security.
That was KJP yesterday at her White House press briefing. It's amazing the spin that they're doing now. She said, for years, it's been years that Republicans have ignored border security. What? Excuse me? That's news to me. I seem to remember a certain Republican president, some call him the greatest Republican president, that had pretty good border security. He was building something. What was he building again? What was that he was building?
Wasn't he like building
not a bridge?
Not a bridge, no.
It wasn't.
Gosh,
what
not
was
a floor, not a ceiling.
No. It was
it was a wall.
It was a wall.
That's it. It was a wall.
He was building a wall. Oh my gosh.
Bingo.
That's crazy. That's right. He was building a wall. And there were supplies left over for that wall to finish building it. Because there was more to be built.
Well, they probably just kept building.
No, you would think that they would do that. The Biden administration sold those supplies. For pennies on the dollars.
To get more or just to...
No.
Oh, okay. That's... Wow.
Don't.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Our apologies.
He's always there. He's always watching.
Freedom.
Okay. Yeah. So we're back to building bridges, I guess. I don't know. It's an amazing thing. And the spin police. Oh, my gosh. The spin police over here. It's Republicans that have been in the way.
Bingo.
Yep. So they're sending them our way now. The Republicans have been in the way, so that's why probably Homeland Security says in this notice that they're sending illegal immigrants to Nashville, Davidson County, Murfreesboro, and Franklin. They're giving us a taste of our own medicine or something? Is that what they're doing? I don't know. It's the weirdest thing. Let's go to Frank in Wilson County. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Big Frank? Oh, Frank. Mac, hit the wrong button. What'd you do to Frank?
Me now.
There he is. Frank, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I don't want to drop off. We can talk. I'm serious. I'm retirement age. Son of a World War II veteran, Southerner. I've traveled in the outside sales construction trade in the Southeast. How do you like your house built in Brentwood at what they charge with an air gun nail, one in the bottom on a 2x4, one in the top of the stud? This was 2.5 decades ago. But we don't need to write a book. We need to focus on what our situation in hand is. And the only way we're going to save this country is if you and I and the American people get 2 to 3 million of us together quickly. We don't want fire and military type thing. We need to sue the H word out of Joe Biden for treason, perjury, etc., and the cabinet.
Yeah, I like it. Lawsuits. That's one way to go about it, Frank.
We can't talk about it. We got to do it or we're done. This is not a game. Wake up, America.
I'm with you, Frank. I appreciate the call, man. Anthony and Gallatin on immigration. You're next on Super Talk. What's up, Anthony?
Hey, Chris. Man, just out here hauling gas and kicking ass.
I love it, baby. What's up?
Hey, so I got a quick little thing. So my granddad on my dad's side, he was born in Del Rio, Texas, and his mom, my great grandmother, they were born. They're from Mexico, and for the first I want to say 10, 11 years of his life, they were there in Del Rio because when they'd come over, they had immigrated over, but they did it the right way. So even though my grandpa was, I guess you could say, an anchor baby, they still stayed in the Del Rio area, in that border town. So my great grandma and my great grandpa, they got all their paperwork straight. They did everything the right way. My great grandpa went on to be, he went on to serve in the military. He did our country proud. They became American. They did it the right way. And my grandpa, he was a very successful business owner out in Idaho. And I remember him telling me about the importance of immigrating into this country the right way. And this was kind of going off of the work portion of it, because the problem is, in my opinion, is when you're hiring illegal immigrants, it's not fair to the illegals, really. I mean, because they get paid terrible wages, they don't get the benefits. There's a reason why you're supposed to do it the right way, because you're paying for cheap labor. It's a form of slavery, in my opinion. So, I mean, doing it the right way is not only beneficial, obviously, to the country, but I mean, also for the people that are coming over. And, if they do it the right way, they can still enjoy the American way, just, it's the same as any other American.
Yeah.
And so I've always had a problem with people hiring illegals for cheap labor, because it's not fair to them. To them, where they come from, that terrible wage, that looks like great money to them, because, they're in Mexico. They get paid very, very, very poor wages. So here, it looks great, but really, it's not, and it's terrible. So I think doing it the right way is very important, not only again for the country, but also for the people who do actually want to be here for a better life and the American dream. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I appreciate it, Chris.
No, man, I appreciate your call. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. I got a text here from our friend Sean. He says, KJP, when she said Republicans have been in the way.
For years, they have refused to heed the president's request for action on much-needed funding for border security.
Sean on the Super Text line said, actually, KJP is right. Republicans didn't do anything about the problem. Trump did it on his own. Just imagine if he actually had help. Good take, Sean. Good take. Darren in Columbia, you're next on Super Talk. What do you got, Darren?
Yeah, I got two things I wanted to talk about. One is voter. These illegals voting. It only takes a driver's license to get a registration to vote in this country. And I don't think that should be allowed. I think you should have to prove you're an actual citizen to get a registration to vote.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Totally.
And Mayor Munchkin, back here in Nashville at one time, he was giving them out like candy. And I know that's going on across the country. And I just think that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, no, I think
I'm very worried about the voting.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that's not discussed as much also is that on the next census, you don't have to answer the question on whether or not you're a citizen. So
Absolutely.
what that's going to do is you have all these people fleeing these blue states because of bad policies, and you have illegals filling those spots up. Well, they're going to count for the head count. So then when it comes to districting and seats in Congress and all that kind of stuff and representatives, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to talk about was Governor Bill Lee. Now, I personally know the man. I've been in prayer meetings with him. He's a good person. But I feel like he's been AWOL on so many issues since he's been governor.
Yep.
Even back in COVID, I just felt like he was looking to each side to see what all the other governors were going to do instead of stepping out and doing something.
Recently, for me, and this is just me, take it how you want to take it, but the way Governor Lee's been acting reminds me of DeSantis looking left and right at that debate when they said, "Will you support Trump if he's convicted?" before he raised his hand. It seems like a lot of his stuff is, let me look left, let me look right. Okay, I'll stand out on this issue. He doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like he's leading from a place of strength. When all those governors were coming out in support of Texas, man, do you know how happy I would have been if he was one of the first ones? And then he gets beat by Governor Kemp. Governor Kemp out of Georgia beats him to supporting Texas. Are you kidding?
Yep. Crazy.
It's crazy. I appreciate your call, though, Darren. Thanks so much. Let's go to Jim in Clarksville on illegal immigration. Jim, you're on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey, Chris. Steve was partially correct. My son was a builder. Some of these contractors, like a sheetrock contractor in Clarksville I knew, he said he couldn't get a lot of jobs. A lot of builders left him because he had to pay workers' comp, and he had to pay taxes, Social Security taxes, so forth on them. So they would hire they weren't illegals, but they would hire the Mexican contractors to do it. And most of the time they hired illegals, but the point was that most of the time they wouldn't pay any taxes on them. And then after the state come in or the feds come in and caught them, they would close their business, move to another state or whatever, and that's what's happened in this industry. Another thing is there's easy to get a work permit to come to work in America. We have all these tobacco farmers, strawberry farmers that bring them in all the time. So you can bring workers in without them being illegal, crossing the border and to work in the construction industry. So Steve was just telling part of the truth. He knew that most of the time the people that he was paying the money to did not pay any taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you, Jim. I appreciate the call, man. Thanks so much. I think we got time for one more call. Let's go to Ken in the Borough on immigration. Ken, you're on Super Talk. What's up, man?
Hey, real quick. Somebody said people with green cards are here illegal. Everybody with a green card is here legally. I also want to make it clear that I don't support illegals.
Did somebody say that? If somebody said that, I missed it. Yeah, if you have a green card, you did the right thing.
Yeah, that was a bit ago.
Okay.
People also have been saying people from Mexico. Right now, the vast majority of people that are coming here are not from Mexico.
No, they're coming here. They're coming here from everywhere. China, the Middle East, Haiti.
Mexico's letting them in. Yeah, Mexico's letting them in, but we all know why. The Romanian Mexico's gone.
Yep, 100%.
And so until that gets fixed again, it's not going to change.
No, and I think that there's stuff and thanks for the call, Ken. I think there's stuff that Joe Biden could do right now to fix the problem. But he needs that bipartisan bill, right? He didn't need any bipartisan support to end Remain in Mexico. He didn't need any bipartisan support to start catch and release again. But, he needs it now. What did he say the other day? He said, just give me the power. He's like, if I have the power, I'll do it. Okay. 11:48. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand, joined by Matt Murphy. Apparently, Matt knew that they were illegal aliens in Middle Tennessee, and he just didn't tell me.
I didn't know that I had to. I didn't know that you didn't know.
I wish you would have said something.
I mean, but
I
think it's because I go to the Sam's Club over in Antioch.
Oh, there it is.
And let me tell you something. If you're not aware that there are illegal aliens in the state of Tennessee, you need to go over to the Sam's Club in Antioch.
All right.
They are all over that, all over the joint. It seemed like, nice enough amigos, but you ask them, can I get by you here? And they just look at you like,
okay.
See?
What's going on, man? What do you got
what's
on the
up
show
with
today?
you? I'm going to talk about social media.
All
and
right.
I'm going to point fingers at parents and ask them why aren't they parenting their children and why are they expecting the government to do it for them?
Good. A lot of the takeaway that I had from those hearings yesterday was like and I feel bad for parents that have lost kids,
of course,
due to cyberbullying, but like the way you eliminate that is you take away the phone.
I feel bad for parents whose children were allowed access to alcohol and drank large amounts of alcohol.
Yeah.
And either drank themselves into oblivion or got behind the wheel of a car. I feel bad for parents who did not secure their guns.
Yeah.
So I need to understand how it's so easy for government loves to point fingers at big corporations when it behooves them. And I saw a lot of posturing on the part of Republicans yesterday that I've seen from Democrats over the last 20 years, and it makes me uncomfortable.
Even the Josh Hawley thing, and I like Josh Hawley a lot, but when he's like, would you like to stand up and apologize? And it's like, and then he did, and it was like.
Well, and it shows you how the media,
it was just a miss.
And I don't, and I think, Hawley, that's fine. I mean, that's all well and good. And I actually think, and I'm being put in a position to defend the robot, but I will defend the robot. His algorithm told him the best move was to do it, and he did it. But then the media reported that Josh Hawley forced him.
Josh Hawley slams.
I mean, and I saw the word force like twice. It's like, no, he put him in a corner, and Zuckerberg did it. Does anybody believe that Zuckerberg wants kids dead?
I don't think he does.
I mean, I don't either. Now, is that to say that there aren't things that the government should nudge Facebook and other corporations to do? Of course.
There's a lot of good
100%.
info there with like the child sex search results, like hitting a button on Instagram to see results anyway. Garbage. You should press them on that. But as far as parents, I feel like a lot of parents have fallen asleep at the wheel. And that's me coming from, I'm a parent. My 10-year-old is not on Facebook. She's not going to be on Facebook. And for me personally, my goal is to make my kids as invisible on the internet as possible, as humanly possible until they're of a certain age.
We're gonna shut the internet down today between noon and 3.
But they shouldn't have profiles. They shouldn't.
No.
There's just no way. And I of course I post pictures of my kids so like my great aunt can see back home.
Yeah.
But like my daughter's not on Instagram. You know what I mean?
I do, and we'll talk about it at high noon.
Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.